Welcome to the Under the Bleachers College Football Playoff Special. This is part one. Tonight you'll get winners from all the games this weekend, and we will go through and we will attempt to pick our champions at the end. We will have a part two of this. I'm not sure it'll probably be after the round of 12, sometime before the games on New Year's Eve, because New Year's Eve's the first round of 8 game, but we'll worry about that later. I do want to try to make this a 4-part thing, though, with the 12-team playoff with an update after each round if we can. But we'll worry about that later. But for part one, we're going to focus mainly on the round of 12 games in the home with home field. It's going to matter. There's going to be some environments where it's just it's cold. Yeah. Okay. Indiana, Notre Dame, the battle of the state of Indiana. It is the Hoosiers. It is the Fighting Irish. And ironically, this game's going to air like right after I cover Friday's MLS draft. Both these teams are soccer powerhouses, but we're here to talk about their football skills. Benjamin Morrison, he might be back from an injury for Notre Dame. If he is, that is great news. Xavier Watts, he won the Bronco Nagurski last year. Give me the Fighting Irish to win this game. I think Curtis Rourke versus Riley Leonard is going to be the big matchup, though. If Rourke can outplay Leonard, Indiana can steal this one. But give me the Fighting Irish. I think their defense is better. And this is literally Notre Dame's biggest game of the year. Home crowd. Friday night, ABC. I like the Fighting Irish to win. And it's their first game on ABC, I believe, since the opener against Texas A&M.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of people they don't know much about this Indiana team and how it's built and how tough it actually is. They've got a dynamic quarterback. They've got a lot of things going for them. But the thing is, they just don't have the belief behind them that they're going to win. I do believe this will be a close game, and Riley Leonard hasn't exactly lit up anything this year. And so I'd have to say I would love to pick Indiana, but I just think that Notre Dame's going to squeak it out in the end by about a field goal or so.
All right. How do you feel about this game, Brandice?
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys on this one. I've been rooting for Notre Dame since the beginning, and I knew they'd be here. I guess the shocker was that they ended up here with another team that wasn't in the Power Four, but I think that they've been slowly growing as an organization over the past couple of years, and they're probably a little bit more prepared than Indiana.
All right. The next contest is the noon game on Saturday. It is SMU versus Penn State. And this is interesting because SMU played Clemson hard, but they just couldn't get the big breaks at the end. And I think a lot of this game is going to depend on weather, because SMU, is it going to be cold out? I'm kind of looking up the weather here. There might be snow. There's Penn.live weather update. Will there be snow in Penn State on game day? This is from a day ago. I'm looking at this and I'm saying there is a 90% chance of snow in State College. So running the football is going to matter. I was very tempted to take SMU in an upset if the weather was better, but it's going to be snowing. This is going to be a Nicholas Singleton party. This is going to be a Nicholas Singleton party for this SMU defense. And yeah, I know a lot of people are talking about Aller. He chose to come back to Penn State for next year. That's great. Hopefully that creates a domino effect. If Singleton came back too, I think Penn State would be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win the Big Ten next year with all the turnover at Oregon and Ohio State. So I'm going to take Penn State to win, but I think this is going to be a close game. I only think Penn State wins by a field goal, and I think SMU actually covers the spread.
Yeah, if there's a 90% chance of snow, SMU has a dynamic quarterback in Jennings. He's thrown for 3,000 yards, 22 touchdowns. SMU is still coming off, that loss to Clemson, and that's going to have a big effect on this one way or another. Penn State is, for as high as they were ranked this year, I mean, Aller and them have been, underachievers. They haven't exactly blown anything up. Aller didn't exactly light anything up, through the season. I mean, I saw flashes in him. I saw the toughness in him, and I know what kind of quarterback he is, and I definitely like Penn State to win. But I like, double digit beating, So what do you think, Brandice?
Yeah, this is one of those matchups where it's kind of like, you don't know. I mean, obviously SMU doesn't have as much history playing in the snow as I'm sure Penn State does, though it does get a little warm down there. I don't think that they'll be prepared for it, but I guess the question is, would it matter? I think that what we've seen out of SMU thus far is miraculous, considering they kind of came out of nowhere. Penn State's been pretty decent for the past, I'd say, 2 or 3 years. SMU's slowly been getting better, and they actually, one of their quarterbacks actually entered into the transfer portal. So they've got like depth at every position, and he was very good for them last season. But they've relied a little bit more on the more mobile quarterback. I think that what is going to come down to, as all of these games come down to, is defense. SMU struggled in the ACC championship on defense. So it's going to come down to basically who is able to protect the deep ball. I think both teams are, have an offense that's a little pro heavy. So I think it's going to come down to secondaries. It's going to come down to D line.
Yeah. That's also one thing with this. I saw, Tyler Warren, the tight end for Penn State, he's already had 1,000-yard season, and I really was hesitant to put that double-digit lead against SMU, but I just see the strength of the team so much more and so much greater. And then I saw, Aller in my head, some of the plays he made, like versus Ohio State and stuff. And
I think this game. I think Penn State's the better team on paper, but I actually think SMU's more motivated to win, and it has nothing to do with the rosters in both teams, and has everything to do with history. You go back to SMU's greatest season as a program, 1984, or they went 1983. They went 11-0-1 in 1982 in Eric Dickerson's draft year, and they tied Arkansas, and they were denied a national title. They were the only undefeated team in the country that year. Penn State won the national title, but SMU had the best record in the country. And a lot of SMU people, boosters, players on that 83 team feel like Penn State screwed them out of a title. This is the time to settle this. If you want to, if you really want the committee to respect you over Penn State for what happened in 1983, you've got to go into Happy Valley and you got to win this game. And something tells me they might. I mean, I'm not bold enough to pick them to win, but I'm not dismissing the idea of an upset either. I think this is the game that I think is most likely to have an upset. I'll break down the next two games. Ohio State Tennessee's the last game, and I believe the game after that is a Texas Clemson. So I'm probably gonna pick all the home teams, but I think if there was an upset, it's probably gonna be this game because even if Penn State loses, they're going to have Aller back for next year. But I just don't know if SMU's got the defensive personnel to win. But I definitely think they're the more motivated team because of the history. And I think that's why this game is going to be close. I've still got Penn State by a field goal, but I think SMU's going to play this team well defensively. And Penn State lost their tackles last year. And I think Elijah Roberts is going to have a big game for SMU. I think he's going to have multiple quarterback hurries, multiple sacks, at least 1.5. So that's why I think this game is going to be close. But I still think Penn State has too much talent because Boise State's best players outside of Roberts and left guard Logan Parr are nickel corners, middle linebackers. they don't really have a safety that can stop Warren. Maybe the linebacker can limit Warren on some short, medium passing plays, but if he does that, that's going to open things up for Singleton, and Penn State knows that. So that's why I think even if you stop Singleton, you have to deal with Warren. If you're the middle linebacker, that's kind of a challenge, and I think that's ultimately why Penn State will prevail.
Yeah, if Aller plays, I talk about his good play, but if he plays as bad as I've seen him play before, then it's going to be a real bad day, and SMU probably will win. So,
one thing I'm just a little concerned about, more so with SMU than Penn State, is just discipline. There were a lot of blown coverages in that Clemson game, and I think that that's what it's going to kind of come down to. When you're dealing with a team where you do have kind of a younger team, you really needing that leadership on defense, especially in these big games. All of the kids just making sure that they don't, they keep their head, because sometimes you could be the more talented team, but the moment's just too big for you. And that's why if I had to put money on it, I probably would go with Penn State. But I do think, like you said, Chris, that this could be the upset.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, I like Penn State. I'm going to go 17-14. I think this is going to be a defensive game. It's going to be Elijah Roberts versus Abdul Carter, the edge rushers. I think they're going to be the deep difference makers for both teams, and Penn State's going to win on a field goal at the end. But I could be wrong about that. If SMU's coverage is bad and Aller's money, it's game over for SMU. So I'll close it on that thought, and we'll get to Clemson versus Texas in Austin. This is the game with the best weather of the 4 games this weekend, but that is not saying much. Klubnik struggled against Georgia, dominated the rest of the year outside of a few bad games, and Ewers had a really bad day in the SEC title game a few weeks ago, but I'm going to take Texas to win. I think Texas gets the job done against Clemson. I don't think, outside of Barrett Carter, it really doesn't feel like Clemson has the defensive talent they've had in previous years. And I think Texas, they're upset about losing to Georgia in overtime. So I think they probably blow out Clemson. If there's a blowout in the playoff, I think this is the game where we see the blowout. I think the Notre Dame-Indiana game will be like maybe a 28-24 game. I think both the first 2 games are going to be close, but I think this is probably going to be the blowout of the tournament. I'm going 35-10 Texas.
Yeah, Clemson up against Texas, two quarterbacks. These are, 2 pretty light quarterbacks, Klubnik and Ewers. Klubnik, he did well this year, like 33 touchdowns, 3,000 plus yards, only 6 interceptions. But, this is a game here that's, I kind of see it going your way, Chris, that it just might be a blowout, but Klubnik might, keep him hanging in there, because, watching him, he's getting better, and better as he goes and becoming less.
Right now, Klubnik would have a 3rd-round grade in the 2026 NFL draft. Him and because I think right now, basically, because I've heard rumors Milrow's coming back. So if that's true, you're looking at 26 being a better class. You have Aller pushing Nico and Arch for QB1. You have Milrow and Nussmeier in the QB4 competition, and then you have Lenore Sellers and Klubnik in the QB6 competition. Those 6 probably all go in the first 3 rounds, and you're looking at Wiegman and Dante Moore, the backup to Dylan Gabriel, who trained with Mahomes, trained with Trey Lance as a freshman at UCLA. Those 2 probably in the 4th round with a chance to be day 3 quarterbacks that become starters like Purdy. That's probably what you're looking at for 26 if the chips fall into play, Williams. So I think that
definitely sounds about right, and everything I've seen on film is probably saying a 3rd on Klubnik. I haven't done a full evaluation on him, but I will shortly. That's
maybe Klubnik gets a garbage time touchdown and they fail to get a 2-point conversion, but Texas still wins 35-16. Because I'll admit, 35-10, that is a little bit disrespectful to Dabo Swinney. So maybe maybe it's 35-16 and they fail to get a 2-point conversion at the end, but it's a garbage time touchdown to make the game a little bit closer on paper, make the blowout a little bit less brutal.
Yeah.
I will say, watching the Georgia game, Georgia Texas game, Sarkisian is pretty good offensive play caller, but there were some very strange decisions made in that game that I was questioning, and it might be him wondering whether or not Ewers could make the throws that he needed to throw. But Dabo Swinney clearly has been here before. He's got several championships under his belt. Not to, discredit Sarkisian, but I think that Dabo Swinney knows how to win. Now, Clemson is the only team that has lost 3 games, though. So the question is, will they come out, here on fire, knowing like, hey, we're still, that team that's won championships, has played in championships before? Or will they come out, feeling a little undefeated, like, oh, this is a team that's only, lost once?
Yeah, I mean, watching Quinn Ewers, some of the things he does, it's almost like a disconnect between Sarkisian and him, and I don't know how to explain it. And then Ewers, I think that their decision making process just kind of makes rounds between each other, and every once in a while it makes right. But I mean, Ewers makes some great reads, but then he does some really dumb stuff sometimes, and hangs onto the ball, and I'm just like yelling at the DB, and I don't know if you guys have ever had that happen to you, but yeah.
Yep.
I think it might end up being, who's better at getting out of the pocket when they need to. It might just be a D-line versus D-line kind of a thing. And I think, in my opinion, Kate Klubnik is a little bit more mobile than Ewers, but I don't know.
I think Ewers is the better arm, but his deep ball accuracy is not very good. It's not very consistent. That's really the big knock on Ewers. But Texas, they do have a good secondary. I think they have a safety. Their corner, Jade Barron, started out at strong safety, but moved to corner this year. So I think Klubnik's going to have to keep his eye is locked in on Barron at all times, because he can move around in the slot, play safety, play number 1 corner. So I think that gives Texas an advantage too. Final game we're going to preview before we get to our playoff predictions is Tennessee, Ohio State. I think this is going to be really close, really competitive. It's going to be 18 degrees in Columbus. I think the weather is going to favor the Buckeyes, and I'm going to go with the Buckeyes by a point. It's either going to be a 28-27 win or a 24-23 win. I'm leaning towards the latter. I think the defenses are going to show up. Dylan Sampson is going to have, I think Dylan Sampson gets 100 total yards, but not 100 rushing yards. And I think Judkins and I think Ohio State does do well against Tennessee's defense, but Tennessee's going to push Ohio State to their limit. I'm going to say Ohio State gets a game-winning field goal at the end, 24-23. And yeah, we just can't have any more shenanigans after the flag incident against Michigan. That means Brutus Buckeye. If you see the Buckeyes get a game-winning field goal, just be happy. Don't go over to Smokey and start breakdancing in front of Smokey, the Tennessee mascot, showboating your victory. That'd just be very crude and tasteless. And I'm pretty sure the NCAA might come down with a fine on the mascot if they did that. Just a very stupid, minute prediction I decided to throw in for humor purposes. But yeah, I like the Buckeyes 24-23, but I think it's going to be a very marginal win if the Buckeyes managed to come out on top against Tennessee, because this Tennessee team, they've got James Pierce, one of the best pass rushers in the draft, and Ohio State's offensive line is injured. So the Vols could very easily steal this game if Pierce goes off.
Yeah, this is definitely Ohio State's game to lose. Tennessee has their dynamic. They've got their rush offense is just amazing, with Sampson. And yeah, anyway, besides that, Ohio State just is a better team. Tennessee, they have been complete underachievers this season again, losing like they should. And I think it's been like that for a while at the program. But I see Will Howard, he has no shortage of weapons. And having Travion Henderson and Judkins, to grind out the game, and like you said, it's going to be a close game. Tennessee will keep it close, but it's going to be too much for Ohio State for Tennessee. That Ohio State has all of those weapons and can grind the run just as well as they can, and have Will Howard do his thing back there and pick apart the defense. I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty simple win.
Yep. I think hopefully Brandice is back, but we are going to break down the we'll give Brandice a few minutes because I didn't think she got a chance to make her prediction for Tennessee, Ohio State. I got a feeling she's going to pick Tennessee because I think all of us have agreed on all of the first three winners so far. Like, there's been no debate, no controversy. I just got a hunch Brandice may end up picking Tennessee to upset the Buckeyes, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, for sure.
When she does get back, if she doesn't, that's fine. But as far as the playoff goes, I think all the upsets are going to happen in the quarterfinals. I think that's where we are going to see the chaos and the dominoes ensue. I think we'll probably see Georgia. Actually, I'm going to do a parlay. I'm going to pick all four teams to upset just for the hell of it because I can. I'm going to pick Ohio State to beat Oregon. I'm going to pick Texas to beat Arizona State. Boise. Oh, you know what? Never mind. We'll get to Brandice here, and then I'll tell you guys. All right. Just, you think Tennessee is going to steal this one, Brandice?
I like this for the upset. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't know. I mean, I'm actually surprised, Chris, you're not rooting for the Vols. Like, they've been.
My dad was a Vols fan before he passed away in 2016. Tennessee Volunteers. He was a Tennessee class of 1968, I believe. Or because he was born in 49, so I think he was Tennessee class of 71, and he talked about the Tennessee World's Fair and stuff too when I was younger. So, we did name our dog after Peyton Manning in the 90s.
There you go.
Wait, did you name him Peyton or Manning?
Peyton.
Okay.
Or
it was a yellow lab.
You could mix it and call it like Panning. Maiden.
Panning. Yeah, the dog used to. Yeah, we would go to Max and Irma's. Sometimes I'd forget to put the food up. The dog would love to eat the grilled cheese sandwiches from Max and Irma's. We used to joke around and say the dog had parties, but yeah, my mom.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, we all kind of sit back and like predict what's going to happen. And obviously this season has been kind of one for the books because we were all just wrong. I've been right about Georgia the whole time. I just want to put that out there. But the only other team, I guess, that hasn't completely disappointed me is Notre Dame. Tennessee, I was a sleeper for me. I know you were kind of heavy on them, Chris, in the beginning. I think there's something to be said about a team that has something to prove, and they've done it this year. I'm not super high on Will Howard. I don't think that Ohio State has been playing at the level that I expect them to play at. The question is really going to be, who's able to, maintain the ability to play under high pressured situations. Who has that ability? Is it Will Howard or is it Yamaleva?
Yeah. And I do think whoever wins this game is going to knock off Oregon. That's how confident I am in both of these teams. For some reason, I feel like all the drama is going to happen in the quarterfinals. All the drama. Time. Yeah. I said before you came back, Brandice, I said, all the drama, give me all the underdogs for a parlay bet. Texas over Arizona State is probably the only favorite I'm going to pick, even though they're the lower seeded team. I've got Boise beating Penn State. I've got Notre Dame beating Georgia, and I've got Ohio State beating Oregon. So I give me the underdog parlay bet outside of Texas. Texas might be favored over Arizona, but outside of Texas over Arizona, give me all the lower seeds to win in the quarterfinals. That is really going to shake up the semifinals and create a lot of drama for a lot of drama for these playoffs, because then you'd have Notre Dame versus Boise, and you'd also have Texas versus Ohio State, and the winners would be in the national championship. And that would just create a whole bunch of drama, and that would only that would only add to the chaos we've had this season.
Right.
And I could see Notre Dame beating Carson Beck on a neutral site. If it was in Athens, they'd be in trouble. But if it's a neutral site and Carson Beck throws 3 or 4 picks and Notre Dame plays turnover-free ball, that's literally the only way they can win. And if, let's say, Leonard gets a break and he carves Starks like Lagway did at Florida, they got a chance. They don't have a very good chance, but they have a chance.
Yeah, I think Carson Beck is going to struggle for sure. But it's really going to come down to, okay, Carson Beck, you've lost your Heisman. Now it's about how much money do you want to make here? Because if you don't play well in this first round, your chance of going in the first round goes down tremendously, you know? So I think when it comes to people's pockets, well, I guess I don't know, because sometimes, you know, you don't really know if people are obsessed with like being a quarterback. Like, I mean, Stetson Bennett was a decent quarterback, I think, but I mean, where is he now? I know he had some personal issues, but I guess it's going to be a matter of like, Carson Beck, do you want to do this? You know, do you want to do this as your profession? Because everyone is watching this game and you've been underperforming. So this first round is really going to be like Carson Beck's letter to, you know, these NFL teams. Hey, I want to play on your team. I'm going to be able to make your team better. If he
basically,
can't
there's only going to be 2 round 1 QBs unless Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck goes on a run in the playoff and actually wins the whole thing. That's the whole.
Right.
Yep.
Whoever does well in this playoffs goes first round.
Because there's only 2 QBs right now, and most NFL fans want to see that third QB get pushed up. So, but if Milroe, Aller, and Nussmeier all go back, that basically leaves Ewers or Beck by elimination, by process of elimination. Those are the only 2 that could move into the first round of this year's draft. And I think both Ewers and Beck have been so inconsistent that one of them would have to win the whole thing. They have to dominate the playoff and win the whole thing, not second, not make the championship. They got to win the whole thing.
Right.
And I think for some reason, my gut is telling me Ewers is going to pull it off and Beck is going to let everyone down. That's what my gut's telling me. So,
you know, I see this with these quarterbacks. There is, you know, not very many elite quarterbacks this year. There are some young guys that are moving up, you know, some that bogged down, you know, that ended up moving their draft stock down. And I just don't see anybody coming out that's actually, you know, going to do anything, because there is a severe talent drop off, you know, after, say, Howard and Klubnik, you know, say 3rd round. And I'm just guessing on those 2 because I'm pretty sure that's what I would have them graded right now.
Yeah.
And there's a severe drop off after that. And I don't see Dylan Gabriel anywhere near that, you know. Otherwise, I would pick Oregon to win this altogether, you know. And I mean, I love Oregon. I just don't love Gabriel. You know,
Sanders and right now, if the Giants and Raiders keep losing, Sanders and Ward are going to be the top 2, and there's not going to be a QB3. So Titans will probably get Darnold. They've got the most cap space of the teams outside of the Vikings that need a quarterback. I think the Seahawks would probably trade Geno to maybe Carolina. Dave Canales reunites with Geno when he was the Seahawks QB coach, and he brings in competition for Bryce Young. Browns probably bring back Winston. So that leaves, I think the Raiders get Brissett to groom either, because Brissett played with Brady in the Patriots as a rookie. So he comes in as a backup to either Sanders or Ward. I'm not sure what the Giants would do. Maybe they get Andy Dalton. I don't know. Maybe because they have to do something, like as far as a bridge quarterback if they lose like a bridge quarterback for the rookie, like a mentor. Maybe they get Dalton and they draft Shadur just in case Shadur's ego's too big for the job. But I don't think Shadur has an ego. He was very friendly and gracious during the Heisman, very gentlemanly, very supportive of Travis Hunter. So I don't think Shedeur has an ego, but there are people that think that. So we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah. And you were just talking about the Giants, and free Drew Lock. Let him go somewhere, that he can play if they're going to draft a quarterback. They've obviously got to do something. They've never had one really,
Yeah. I'm going with the underdogs. I'll give you guys my championship game is going to be Texas versus Notre Dame. So I have Notre Dame beating Boise in the semifinals, and I've got Texas beating Ohio State, and I've got the Longhorns beating Notre Dame to win it, with Quinn Ewers leading Texas to their first national title in nearly 20 years. So,
man, I don't have a bracket in front of me to see how it lines up.
No.
Like I said, Oregon is,
you have to admit that'd be a heck of a championship game, Texas versus Notre Dame, because nobody would see it coming. The sports books would make a profit. Nobody outside of the people who bet on Texas or Notre Dame would make a profit. Everybody else who bet on Oregon or Georgia would lose their money. And right now, Texas is the second most bet team behind Oregon on Polymarket. Georgia's third, even though they beat Texas twice. That is, if you're Kirby Smart, you should pull up the Polymarket app and take a screenshot of Georgia being third. We beat Texas twice. We're third. We're better than this. And that's enough to fire your team up if you're Kirby Smart. But yeah, William, Brandice, how do you feel about the playoff?
Let's see.
You can go on, William.
No,
I'll be last.
With playoffs, I like I said, I was just talking about Oregon, and I definitely think they're the most well-coached team in college football with Dan Lanning. I will say that. Maybe not a popular opinion, but, whatever. And
Very good coach.
I could see them going, if, whatever happens. I don't have a bracket in front of me to line it up. I probably got one somewhere.
Actually, the Oregon, if they, I'll help you, William. Oregon would play Ohio State, Tennessee winner. You got Ohio State, so I'm guessing you're picking them over Ohio State. The question is, do they lose to Texas in the semifinals, or do you think? Because I'm guessing you're going Texas over Arizona State. If they draw Arizona State, Oregon's pretty much in the championship. That's pretty much a bye week for them. At that point, another bye week for Oregon. And if they draw Texas, they probably I could see them getting to the semis and losing to Texas. I could. But Texas is, it also feels like if Oregon and Texas meet in the semis, whoever wins that game, maybe they end up winning it all. That may be the championship game in the semis. Those might be the two best teams.
Yeah.
We'll see.
In my mind, Tennessee actually beats Ohio State, but Oregon best Tennessee. Texas does handedly beats Clemson, struggles with Arizona State. Does Texas beat Arizona State? I don't know, but I'd be willing to bet that they do. But I do think Oregon is going to beat Texas. I think this is going to be a Georgia-Oregon championship. And that I cannot say. I would not be surprised, though, if Oregon takes it all.
Yeah. That was, just about what I'm getting to. I like Oregon. And like I said, I always have. I'm going to pick Oregon over, whoever wins. Like you mentioned, even over Texas if they meet in the semifinals. Arizona State is going to be a tough team. They're the comeuppance team, the one team that you want to win. But, you got to go other places sometimes. But I would say that Oregon's going to have two tough games in a row. If they end up with Texas, they're going to beat Texas. And then they're going to go on to Georgia, and that's going to be on to something. And I definitely like that, the Oregon, Georgia.
I am picking Texas to win it all, but if Georgia does beat Notre Dame, that probably will be the team Texas has to play again to win it all, assuming they get by Oregon.
Oregon Oregon's going to win it. Like I said, the only doubt I have it is Gabriel. The rest of the team is perfect.
Yeah, they got Cornelius and Connor Lee at tackle. The receivers are great. Muhammad's one of the better corners. They have a pretty complete team, and they were the only team to finish the season without a loss.
Nobody's talking about Boise State, though. Can Boise
I would
State
love
beat
to see
Georgia?
a Boise State, Arizona State national championship, because that would just piss off everyone. That would piss off everyone in the Power Five. The SEC
I'm okay with it.
The Big Ten would be pissed with it.
Definitely.
I'm okay with
As
it.
a fan of college football, I think a Boise State, Arizona State championship would be extremely entertaining and be hilarious. And I'd also like to see SMU beat Penn State, and we get SMU versus Boise on New Year's Eve, because that would upset a lot of people too. That would upset a lot of the Power 5 athletic directors and commissioners. So I would like to see that too.
This is what I want to see. Like, literally, I want to see Ashton Jeanty on TV jumping over people, on national TV, even prime time, whatever, jumping over people, doing his thing. That's what I want to see.
I want to see Ashton Jeanty hurdle over a defender like Saquon Barkley, and then take the after he wins the game, in the game and after he wins the game, I want to see him hurdle like Saquon Barkley, and I want him to take the New Year's ball that's set for the New Year, and I want him to light up the New Year ball for the New Year's Day parade after Boise State wins on New Year's Eve.
No one's talking
really
about the Heisman, so to speak, runner-up Cam Scatterbo. I mean, that kid
was Scatterbo number 2 in the standings behind Jeanty, or was he third behind Hunter? And
he was third.
No, he was. I can't remember what it was. Like I said,
it was 217 votes. But I genuinely wonder if Jeanty had transferred to Oregon or Ohio State. I think he's the winner, and it's probably by a wide margin, not like the 217 votes that Hunter won by. It's probably like by a wide margin. We're talking striking distance between Ashton Jeanty and O.J. Simpson if you reverse the roles of Travis Hunter, and he stays at a group of 5 school, and Jeanty goes to a Power 5 school. You're talking about Jeanty being within the territory O.J. Simpson was in when he won the Heisman by such a huge margin.
Yeah. And that's all over social media. There's the people on there saying, "Oh yeah, but he played against Mountain West."
I'm not going to sit here and say Travis Hunter didn't earn the Heisman, because 1, that's ignorant. 2, that makes you a hater. I did have somebody at my company say that. I'm not going to go there because the people picked him to win the Heisman, and he did really well at corner receiver, and he did earn the Heisman. He did get the votes. So
did he earn the Bolitnikoff Award?
I would have preferred to watch Nick Nash win it, but he did get the votes to win it.
Okay. I have a theory. Put Travis Hunter at Boise State. Put Ashton Jeanty at Colorado. Who wins?
Jeanty easily.
Right.
So can you?
But it's not because Travis shouldn't have won.
Because I think that's not a knock on him by any means.
Right.
Exactly. I think the college football, the narrative has shifted. It used to be where you played matter. Now it's who you play and how you play against them, because it used to be where you played mattered. Doesn't anymore, because this Heisman basically saying if you don't play at a Power 5 program, we're not giving you the Heisman if there's somebody of equal or greater value in the Power 5. That's basically my takeaway from this year's Heisman.
Yeah. Popularity contest, it's one thing. It's getting it might be much worse in the NFL actually, because of all that and everything that they have going on now. I hate to talk about things like that, but it's just one of those things. It's too much hype and too much everything else. They don't realize that they can actually ruin some of these kids' lives with the hype that they give them. Some of them never live it down, and bad things happen. And I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, it's crazy, because I think that if it was me, like, everyone kind of questioned why Lamar went so late and Daniel Jones went so early, but look at where they are now. You know, I would prefer to be the guy that goes late. Obviously, not really, because you get way less money. But at the end, I think that like sometimes all of that hype, it's bad for you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it can easily destroy you because I mean you can get pumped up to the point you'll never live down, you know, that first round grade. It's like any team you go to, they think you're supposed to be a starter or whatever, and just toss you aside. And that's one thing, you know. And I mean it starts with sports media, and that's how they market everything to us, and that's how they feed us everything, and blah 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 blah. It's like I scout these football players for the last 3.5 years, something like that, and literally, I mean, some of these kids are just falling through the cracks like none other. You know, they don't have a name, they don't have anything else, but they can actually play. But no one is doing it, because they're not putting asses in the seats, or they're not selling jerseys, whatever. But I mean, it's crazy to see it, and I just want to scream because that's like the kids that I give high grades to or something, and all of a sudden, it's like a free fall, just watching them, go fall right through the cracks, man. So too serious for the show.
I know, right?
We're sitting here laughing at jokes, and damn.
Yep. Ironically, all 5 of the players on the Phil Steele's College Football Magazine cover made the playoff. Tez Johnson, Quinn Ewers, Abdul Carter, Carson Beck, and Tyleek Williams. They all made the college football playoff. Congratulations, guys. Only one of you will win the playoff, though. The rest of you will lose at some point. And
the only one.
We could see the first domino fall as early as this Saturday. We could see one of those 3 lose as early as this Saturday. Not that we're rooting against anyone, but just if Penn State,
that would make us haters.
Texas, or Ohio State loses, well, all that's left is Tez Johnson and Carson Beck, assuming William and Brandice's Oregon-Georgia prediction holds up. We'll find out in the coming weeks. Part 2, I do not know when part 2 will be. It will not be on Christmas or New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. I'm not opposed to doing a show on Friday or Monday before that, like the 3rd. I'm not opposed to doing a show on the 30th, which is but you might have plans then. They might have winter break plans. If we do not do a show we might do a post show on the 2nd.
We'll get
2025, where we basically would recap the round of we'd recap the round of 12, we'd recap the quarterfinals, and we'd preview the Final Four. That would be probably what we would do in part 2. But this is going to be either a 3-parter or a 4-parter, the road to the college football playoff. And William will decide offline. He'll stay and chat with me. But yeah, this college football playoff thing, if you're looking for a cliffhanger on Under the Bleachers, this is the cliffhanger. This is going to be the yearly cliffhanger. The other shows will have conclusions. This is going to be our only cliffhanger of the year, as long as unless William decides there's other shows that need cliffhangers, like recruiting, the portal, the draft. But that's stuff we've talked about offline, and we're not going to get into detail about that today because we haven't made any final plans yet. So for Brandice Bell, William Yanish, and myself, Chris Ransom, we are signing off. Any final words before we call it a day?
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
One quick question.
Okay.
If you only could pick the winner based off of mascots, who wins?
Easy. I'm going to go with Brutus Buckeye.
What? What is a Buckeye? What does he even do?
It was on our thumbnail that one week. You should have seen him. He's this little.
Yeah, when Oren a few weeks ago, Oren decided to put mascots in for the Lions-Packers game. So I was like, you know what, William? Let's do college mascots. Screw it. So we went with college mascots for Ohio State, Penn State, because Oren inspired us. Oren does Utopia Football Insider, but he inspired us to go with college mascots. So we did it just for that 1 week. But yeah, I'm not opposed to bringing back college mascots for next year if we get some requests in the chat room. Oh, we do have a comment in the chat room. I almost oh, it's just a streamer friend wanting me to talking about my audience size and all this stuff. We want sports questions. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, if the only people that stop in the chat room are just going to say, we want to help you build your audience, that's great. You can subscribe to YouTube. You could go to the Draft Utopia Facebook Live page, our Twitter handle. You can listen to us live on there. That's awesome. But I want actual sports questions in the chat room. I do not want this we'll help you build your audience and you can make a profit off kick. I don't want that. We want sports questions from loyal sports fans that actually care about these issues. So, but yeah, thanks for stopping in the chat room. But yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone from Under the Bleachers and myself. The three of us are signing off.
Happy Hanukkah.
And Kwanzaa.
Hanukkah. Yeah.
What?